Now focus on the government, which is scratching its head on how to finance its second budget. That is President William Ruto's second budget, which has already been reduced by a whopping 145 billion Kenya shillings after withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. Remember, there was an annulment of the Finance Act of 2023, which we still ask what became of it. Still, fuel is a 16%. That is a VAT that has been imposed on it, yet it's supposed to be at 8%. But let's now listen to President William Ruto hinting on a new finance bill that is being drafted.
Mimi nimeambia Malulu hapa na wabunge wenzetu, sindio? Tutaenda tupange tena, si namna hiyo? Mimi nauliza nyinyi, ukienda kupanga ile maneno uzae mtoto na mtoto huyo apate shida, hakuwa hai, wewe una give up? Si unarudi tena kwa kitanda kupanga maneno, ama mnasemaje? Sasa tutarudi pale tena kwa kitanda tupange maneno tena, ama namna gani?
To begin with the Honorable James Gakuya, you know, to cover the deficit that, of course, came up as a result of the Finance Bill 2024 being withdrawn, the government, yes, had already slashed by 145 billion Kenya shillings, but yet another money bill coming through, 150 billion that is being sought. Are you going to support that?
First and foremost, let us agree that there was the pronouncement was also the death of 2023-2024 finance bill by the judiciary. But unfortunately, I have witnessed the process of appropriation bill to the end, and it was assented to. So that means what? It means that we are not going to revert to that particular, we are not going to revert to 2022-2023 finance bill. We are going to work under the 2023-2024 finance bill, whether it has been suspended by court or not. But that is, to my view, that is where we are. Coming to the gaps, those gaps that a certain number was cut to, from various number of agencies, including Parliament. They suffered very serious cuts to try to mitigate that particular gap. But there was around 145 billion Kenya shillings which was to be borrowed, 170 something which was to be borrowed. I still guess if that's the route to go, then Kenyans will just prepare to have some extra hardship on that loan element. But since we have various other number of unsettled loans, I still believe is that money can be borrowed and be put to prudent services. Still, it's a plus to the country. The only problem, Joe, is where you borrow, and instead of putting that money to a proper use, then you put that money to the current expenditure, where then you cannot be able to find that money anywhere in the future. But if the money can be put into a prudent service, and especially in development kitty, and where there is no exaggeration of cost of projects, I think that's good to go. I would say, anyway, issues to do with the new finance bill that the head of state is wooing public to support, the time will tell.
Fanyamambo, you know, I'm not sure of what the law says about a finance bill. Will it be brought any time during the financial year, or should it come alongside the appropriations bill? One. Two, is it evident that by us as a country, of course, are being downgraded by Fitch and Moody's, now we are considered as a high-risk country, so the president has envisioned a situation that it's not even possible to borrow. The margin that remains after 145 billion was cut out of what the Finance Bill 2024 would have financed the budget with. And now he reverts back to taxation, which even the outgoing or the former Treasury CS, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, warned that over-taxation will not reap fruits.
First and foremost, you're asking about the law. Which country is following the law here? Let's start there. Which law are they following? Which court order have they honored? Where has Chapter 6 been seen to be implemented in this country? So I stopped speaking as a lawyer nowadays. I just speak as a political analyst, because anything you say in law is not making sense, is not being followed. I think the only part of the law they follow is when you talk about something that threatens the existence of the state. Treason and DCI are all over with the vehicles carrying people all over the place. I think that's the only law they are keen on, how they can get rid of someone who wants to do something that looks like it's treasonable. Otherwise, everything else doesn't fall within the law. But the thing I have always said, who said Kenya needs a finance bill every year? You see, one of the reasons why people are fleeing to Rwanda and those other countries is because of predictability. When you wake up one morning and parliamentarians decide that there's a specific tax they can add up to 25%, that kills any business. So when you wake up in the morning and you are always having this trepidation of a finance bill that will come just next year, like you can imagine coming here and setting up a business worth 5, 6, 7 billion. And then the following year, a finance bill decides, oh, these guys are manufacturing cotton products. Yeah, 25% increase on taxation on cotton products. What that means is that the 5, 6, 7 billion invested is going to go down the drain. You cannot continue operating under such circumstances. So Kenya does not need to have a finance bill every year. You can look at countries that don't have a finance bill every year. What you do is you have one prudent finance bill, and then the country starts looking for a way to generate income. Let me tell you, the biggest problem that President William Ruto has is that he has a horrible cabinet. And I usually say that 1,000,000 times.
Yet again.
Let me tell you, Kenya can make 5 trillion every year from tourism only. What stops us from having 5 million tourists a year, each spending 1 million? It's because we have a minister for tourism who is incompetent. Kenya can make a lot of money from so many ministries. Sometimes I worry deeply. Sometimes I wished, in fact, I felt like doing a press conference and telling William Ruto, please make me minister for tourism in this country, and I'll bring you 5 million tourists and you'll get 5 trillion and you can run this economy. And I even had the figures and how I would do it from the following day. Then I realized the decisions would be made by a PS who would now make things very difficult for me. And anyway, who wants to work with Kenya Kwanza? So what we are trying to say is that we don't need a finance bill every year. It's not necessary.
Odoyo, I know Fanyamambo has not answered this question. Could it be President William Ruto has envisioned of not him getting, of course, the money from loans because of the downgrade that we had from 2 financial institutions, that is Fitch and Moody's. And now he reverts back to, of course, trying to generate revenue through taxation. But
do you honestly believe we need the loans? I mean, we spend 139 billion on hospitality, leisure, travel, and accommodation.
So there's need for austerity measures.
There's no need for 145 billion from anywhere.
Although talk to us about the financial crisis that now the president has found himself. Actually, there is no Finance Act of 2023, according to the court ruling. However, Honorable Gakuya says that's what we'll still need to work with. Are we disregarding the court orders and the rulings?
No, first of all, you know, whenever a finance act is brought down, there's no gap, because one act replaces another one that was there before. So these finance acts that we have, we pass the bills to become acts. We use them to collect money from the people. Then we appropriate them to be used. So there is money to be appropriated to be used to govern this country going forward. So when we bring down Finance Bill 2023, even if we bring down the 2022-2023, there is still one that was there before that we can continue using. There is still money that has been collected using the past finance acts, and we can appropriate that money to keep the country running. Nevertheless, I saw when you played the President William Ruto suggesting that we will bring another finance bill to the House. I think let us look at our electorate. They think a finance bill is something that is overtaxing them. President William Ruto has just talked of bringing a finance bill because this country needs to have a finance act. He has not said he's going to bring the very same one. He has not saying that he's going to increase taxes. He's just going to bring a finance bill that the parliament will consider and pass, and we move forward governing as a country. So going forward, I have not heard the president say that he's going to increase taxes. He's only warning the people that keep watch on your legislators. Some of them are being incited to bring down finance bill, to bring down the government, when necessarily those bills are meant to help him govern this country, to help him build those roads. And actually, when he spoke there, I was standing right in the crowd there, listening to him talk about suggesting to the people that they need to keep their MPs in check so that they don't shoot down even good things when they are in the National Assembly.
And now let's have a very key voice in this conversation as far as the taxes are concerned. Now, the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is John Mbadi, in fact has confirmed that indeed the National Treasury is working on another finance bill. In fact, reintroduction of some of the clauses of the finance bill of 2024 and eco levy to be specific. However, he says that it will not be imposed on sanitary towels and diapers. However, eco levy will still exist despite, of course, earlier on being rejected. And I'm now joined by Joyce Gashugi, CEO, PACPRO, just to react on this. PACPRO is the trading name of the Packaging Producer Responsibility Organization Limited. Good morning. What will be the implication of having yet the eco levy back?
Thank you, Joel. So I think for us, where we sit is we hope that it is being introduced based off the final amendment that was presented by the parliamentary committee, which had stated that the eco levy would be subjected only to finished goods that are imported, and not as it had originally been suggested, which was going to affect raw materials that were being imported, including all our plastic and packaging materials. And so I think because we've not yet seen what that draft looks like, as is being proposed by the Cabinet Secretary, John Mbadi, our anticipation is that we can give him some latitude to see what he brings to the floor of the House through the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, and that we hope that there will be some significant consideration of the opinions of stakeholders as well as the citizens to ensure that he is cushioning them against increased costs. Because I think you remember I had mentioned that if this goes as it had originally been suggested, then the cost of goods would go up significantly to, of course, the detriment of consumers, which is really normal mwananchi, you and I included.
Joyce, last time you were here, you warned that if eco levy is imposed, especially on locally manufactured goods, for instance, the price of bread will shoot up. Are you still fearing that if they will not amend it to only finished imported goods, then we stay at a risk of having very expensive, finished products from our own industries and, of course, factories?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think, I believe that's why Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi, even in stating that he's going to reintroduce this particular clause, he was quick to add that he was going to ensure that he removes any contentious issues, because it is going to affect the basic cost, the cost increase in the basic goods that you and I are using, bread, cooking oil. As such, we are hopeful and we are anticipating that it is only going to be on the finished imported goods.
Thank you so much for creating time this morning. That is Joyce Gashugi, CEO, PACPRO. Honorable James Gakuya. On this, still on this money bill, is it that President William Ruto was tactic, the smart politicians, as many says he is, that he had to bring, first of all, the opposition on board for him to reintroduce such a bill? Of course, knowing that if at all they were on the other side, they will oppose it. And John Mbadi's in tray. He's coming at a time that the country is really struggling with revenue issues. Will he achieve what Professor Njuguna Ndung'u did not achieve?
One, let me start by saying, I have listened to the head of state during his tour of various destinations in the public, and he was very categorical that he was pushed to bring this what we call broad-based government, not to carry the blame of being Sakayo alone. And therefore, the meaning of the word Sakayo is those who, that person who does who collects the taxes. And in this case tells you, then that was his first charge, that then we bring everybody in, so that as I push for taxes, then the blame does not get to me alone, and the blame is holistic. And I think, to me, this is a genius route he has taken, because now body we will stand to defend. Where this, it could be otherwise, on the floor, the body could be on the opposite. And therefore, it means the bill will sail very comfortably in the floor of the House, and also tempers outside there. He has a team who should also be able to punch the public down there to comfort them. What I would just say, Joe, is that since we drive what we call people-driven government, which is a civilian government, our constitution states that, in fact, you have to have what we call public participation, and a paramount one. Even though there is such a plan, let us have a wide public participation. Let us hear the voice of the people. And if the voice of the people will dictate that it is necessary, then we go for it.
Odoyo, you know, the CEO for PACPRO has argued that if at all then they are to introduce the eco levy, it should be on, as of last amended, you know, during the finance bill of 2024, which only sought now to have the eco levy imposed on finished imported goods. Which way to go? Should they go with the fact that it was already amended and then adopt the last or the final one, or bring it as it was initially?
I don't think they will bring it as it was initially. The president was very clear. He had noted the many things that were unacceptable to the citizens, and they would not be brought. But it may be there in an amended way, in a reviewed manner, for the people to go ahead with it. But there's a statement you had made earlier about the president saying he had brought in members of ODM into his government so that they can share the blame. First of all, we are very clear that there is the kind of government system we have today. There is no opposition and there is no government. We only have parliament to oversight the government. But that is the reason. But the real reason is the president found himself alone. He went and formed the government with a coalition of himself, his party, and the mountain. And when the Gen Zs came to the streets, he discovered, he thought he was with his deputy and all his allies. He discovered he was alone. That is why he said, if these people have decided to run away from me, let me look for allies everywhere. So when people come and talk and say, oh, the cabinet is this or that, the government is this or that, they must know they are the people who contributed to the president seeking people outside his coalition to form a government with. This idea of he brought them in so that they can share the blame is neither here nor there. The former CS of finance never explained anything publicly, never shared the blame with the president. The president took all the blame alone. Mbadi will not share the blame with the president. The president will still take it alone. Let us not pretend. The fact is the president found that he was on his own, so he had to look for people to work with.
Fanya Mambo. Has President William Ruto learned from what the Gen Zs were demonstrating against? And with having Raila Odinga on board, will it, you know, quell the rage by the Gen Zs who went to the streets demonstrating against high taxation? And also to add to the words of the former Treasury CS, immediate former, that's the Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, that high taxation will still not reap fruits. Perhaps it was a message to the president.
Why are you taxing someone who has nothing? Let's start there. This person is not even able to feed his family. He's not able to pay school fees. Kenyans are living on loans from end to end. Then you come and increase. What are you taxing? You know, sometimes I wonder where this government thinks, or where they sleep, or where they live. How do you wake up and find someone who is not able to fix 3 meals a day, and then you start taxing the little that they are using that they don't have?
The argument in this case is that these are non-contentious clauses, so it's okay for them to come back to
contentious, non-contentious to who? Everything that touches our pockets is contentious to us. When you get to a place where more than 40% of what you earn is going into taxation, then it is contentious to us. So the thing is, this government needs to first come and understand where people are coming from. And Kenyans are in a place where some of them are eating 1 meal a day like an animal. So when you come and say now you're going to tax anything more, they're at a place where they want to explode. But secondly, Gen Zs. You see, this government is thinking the fact that Gen Zs have gone off the streets means that they have quelled the Gen Zs. No. There is nothing as bad as somebody who is rioting on the inside. Because what this has happened is that these people have left the streets, but their hearts are not content. And for as long as their hearts are not content, if another trigger arises, even if that trigger is going to be the next election, they will make it so clear in the ballot. I keep telling this government, the people between the age of 18 to 40 in the IEBC register are 16 million. They are 16 million. What can't you do with 16 million votes? Hata mkikosa kupatia hao wengine kura, hata mkikosa kuwapatia ID, the ones who are between 16 and 40 right now are 16 million out of the 22 million registered voters. So it's good to be extremely cautious. Okay, there's 8 million Kenyans who didn't vote. Who are they? Middle class. I want to clap for President William Ruto because he has achieved one thing that has never been achieved by any other president. He has made the middle class feel the need to vote. Because right now, if there's someone who is feeling the pinch of taxation, is middle class. Those people of my car, they don't go to the polling station. Oh my God, those people will vote for us. For the first time, that middle class is going to vote.
So President William Ruto stares at being a one-term president?
Not unless a miracle happens, he's a one-time president. As we speak right now.
But who stands against him?
Yeah? You see, the question is not who stands against President William Ruto. You know, Kenyans have a habit of voting out the person they don't want. I mean, for a very long time, we saw people saying that we want Sonko because we want to remove, he's the only one who can remove Kidero. Yeah? They came and said, the people of Mount Kenya, we don't want Raila, so we are going to vote for Ruto. I am telling you 2027, even if it is Fanyamambo on the ballot or Wajakoya, and he goes against William, because what Kenyans will do, they will not be voting for the person. They'll be voting against the person.
Honorable Gakuya, has the president learned from the Gen Zs that they are opposed to high taxation? Their lives are not getting any better, so there's no need also to tax them.
One, I don't want to respond for the president, because personally...
Also for the parliament. No, you know, they invaded parliament.
Let us agree on one thing, that in fact, it is the jurisdiction of the executive to find ways on how to run the government. And the government cannot be run without resources. So if the resources are not giving any meaningful plus, and there is a big deficit, and you have alluded that in fact Modi and the others has downgraded the country, therefore chances of external borrowing may be lesser.
Honorable Gakuya, by the way, you know, in the Finance Bill 2024, it was said that, you know, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua opposed the Finance Bill, although he was not on record. This time round, he'll be supporting it.
I don't want even to speak for the Deputy President, but I can tell you for sure, we have learned. And we learned that, in fact, the young generation can also bring the government down if they feel that actually they are uncomfortable with some kind of rules that we are crafting. And therefore, we need to be more precautionary as much as we are bringing another finance bill. Let us also be, that's why I've said, let us have a wider public participation so that youth can also air their say on it.
Well,
and in case they approve it, me, I have no problem. But I just want to say something, that in fact, as much as we want to say that in fact, William found himself alone by the time he brought in Honorable Raila in the government. Raila was already in the government long time ago. Because we have we've seen Raila, Museveni, and William in somewhere in Uganda.
So that was the beginning of the
of the marriage. Well. And how could the government be so interested to finance shuttle for Odinga to AU? That means there was a correction just ahead.
And that is when there was a fallout between the president and his deputy?
What has happened is that now the time to actualize it now in the cabinet has come. And the excuse, this is just an excuse. But actually the marriage was there.
An interesting conversation here, but allow me at this point, we take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be also touching on President William Ruto, who has been criticized for relaunching projects that already he had launched or that were launched by his predecessor, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. We take a short commercial break. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
is the biggest reggae and rhythm show ever on Kenyan television.
You have a ganja man and you wanna forget. Tell them nothing about
Jekyll with the reggae boys.
Okay, you get the new clocks, the daddy.